For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsberg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Alrighty, late night last night, early morning today, but we're right back at it. It's exciting, it's fun, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba, and for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by our friends at Play Now. Along with Dave Manouk, along with Ezra Ginsberg, I am your host, Drew Mindell, here for the next couple of hours talking about all things Winnipeg Jets. We look back at last night's Jets defeat to the San Jose Sharks. We look ahead to tomorrow's Jets game in Anaheim against the absolutely on fire Anaheim Ducks. So it's going to be a fun Saturday morning with you. Kelly Moore from 680 CJOB, he's going to join us at the top of hour number 2, and then in about 90 minutes time before he makes his arrival in Winnipeg next weekend, O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, he's going to join us as well. So a big show ahead. We say good morning to Dave, good morning to Ezzy. Gentlemen, great to see you both on this Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Good morning, Drew. You look like you've had a couple cups of coffee. You sound like you've had a couple cups of coffee.
I really haven't yet. I just sort of poured my travel mug full of coffee and brought it downstairs, and I haven't really delved deep into it. But it's the kind of thing, Ezzy, where you
Drew, are you aware that you're twitching right now?
Yeah, you got to bring the energy. You know, it was, again, we didn't finish the post-game show until, about close to 1 o'clock or so, whatever time it was last night. So you got to bring the energy. You got to make yourself feel vibrant, excited, ready to go.
Let's do it. Yep. Yeah. It was a disappointing loss, but we're still going to pump out 2 hours of content for you guys today. That's and right. Look, guys, we talked about it last night, and we'll get into it more here. It obviously hasn't been a good start to this road trip. I mean, that's Captain Obvious speaking, right, guys?
Yeah.
But I think it was the way that the Jets played in the second and third period that left a lot of people concerned about. And look, we're not concerned as in, we don't think this team's going to make the playoffs, but concerning in that the game against LA where they weren't able to manage any goals, and then they go into San Jose and they're only obviously able to score one when they had all of those chances in the first period. But it was the second and third periods where the game just completely fell apart, and the Jets were having trouble putting two passes together, right, boys?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think, you've got to have a much better effort against Anaheim. And, the easy part of the schedule is over, guys, right? Like we talked about, the Jets, like, ease of schedule. And, yeah, you've got Vancouver coming up. They're not the best team, but, like, Anaheim tops in the division. You've got Carolina coming up a couple times later this month. You've got Minnesota, right? So, like, this is you can't blame it's not that you can't blame the schedule, but we can't keep looking at the schedule and saying, well, Perfetti and Samberg are out of the lineup, but the schedule's pretty easy, so the Jets should still win these games, right? San Jose is a good team, and Anaheim is arguably a better team. Certainly record-wise, they're a better team, right? So, I mean, the Jets need to get out of this funk that they're in right now.
Well, let's talk about the funk. So, I mean, it was not a good performance for periods 2 and 3 yesterday, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
The first period was, of the 3 periods, the first period was certainly the Jets' best period.
Yeah.
Is it just a lull, or are there more worrying signs from your perspective here? I mean, every team goes through sort of the ebbs and the flows and the waves in the course of a season. The Jets, I would say, again, Scott Arniel would say this, probably the players themselves are succeeding in spite of their record, succeeding record-wise in spite of their on-ice performance in a lot of these games. So, when does it become more concerning than just sort of a ebb and flow to a too long season?
Yeah, I mean, the trends have been there, right? It's not like the Jets' numbers, if you look at the analytics, have been fantastic or any stretch of the imagination. The goaltending numbers have been excellent, but it's the 5-on-5 for the Winnipeg has not been exceptional. And yeah, there are worrying trends. I mean, the Jets have looked slow. I mean, the Jets' brand of hockey was fast, connected hockey, and they're not playing that way right now. And defense collectively, I mean, I think the only good news is it's not as if you're like reliant on one player and one player didn't show up, right? As like that team, I mean, Adam Lowry, I listened to it. They posted his post game late, so I was listening to it a little bit this morning, and he basically talked about how they got behind them and were setting up 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s. Like they fed their transition game, and the Jets, generally speaking, don't do that. So, I mean, they got away from they've now. There's a lot of new players, sure, Pearson, Koepke, Chibrikov, Lambert, Ford. Like you have a lot of Jonathan Taves. So you have a lot of new players trying to, implement the system that brought you so much success last year, even though the defense is largely the same. But it just shows you the import of a guy like Dylan Samberg, no question about it. But at the same time, this team was 9-3, and we weren't talking about Dylan Samberg, right? We were talking about the fact that the team was 9-3, and you're like, okay, well, they've kind of survived things. And you're right, Drew. There are lulls in the season, but I mean, to be honest with you, this team didn't really suffer a lot of lulls last year. So you got used to not seeing that happen. And again, Adam Lowry is played 2 games now in 6 months. So I mean, that he's going to take some time, even though, as he said yesterday, he definitely got some chances. But as a collective group, they need to be better. And I know Scott O'Neill did some radical adjustments to his lines in the third period, and they need more. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, boys, you don't win games scoring 1 goal in the NHL. I mean, I'm not saying you can't win the occasional 1-0 effort, but you need to score more goals. This team isn't scoring enough goals. Obviously, Cole Perfetti switching into a regular jersey, as he will, for their sake, hopefully help. But ultimately, I mean, again, you've got another guy who hasn't played a regular season game yet. So he's behind the 8 ball.
Adjustment period.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else has played 14 games for the most part, and he's played 0. So we don't know if he's back for game 15. We don't know if he's back for game 16 or game 17. But ultimately, he will be behind everyone else. So his timing is going to take some time before he's ready to go. So you have to get it done. And like, obviously, Cole Koepke had a brilliant opportunity to make it a 2-1 game, and didn't take advantage of it. And obviously, I know like in that regard, he's struggling, but so are a lot of guys. So again, like I said, we're not here to solve world peace, and we're not here to solve the Jets scoring woes, Ezzy, but they collectively have to do something, be better than they have been.
Well, let me ask you this. So there's a lot of concern, especially last night, where I think to some extent they got exposed a little bit about the speed of the team, and that they're not a fast team. We know that. But, I think that at times we've seen them play fast when they play connected. It's almost like that's when they get to show off their speed and their ability to transition and move the puck. But it doesn't happen when they're playing a disconnected, disjointed game like they were last night, where things weren't smooth. They really, the lack of foot speed really becomes more apparent. It's almost like to demonstrate the speed that they have, however much of it they have, they need to be playing in that connected fashion. When does the speed or lack thereof become a more significant issue for this team, or is it already here? I mean, fast teams can make them look even slower. So for the Jets' perspective, is this something that's a worrying item, or is it something that can be mitigated so long as they're playing the Jets brand of hockey that they expect to play night in and night out?
Why was Brad Lambert taken out of the lineup for Nikita Chibrikov? Like, that's another decision that I don't really particularly understand. Like, I'm not saying Chibrikov is a slow player necessarily, but I thought
speed element.
Well, I thought Lambert was good in his 2 games that he's played since coming back into the lineup.
Those are the 2 best games he's played, I would argue.
Right. So I'm not really. I mean, I don't know if Scott O'Neill will be asked about that. We've talked about there's not a lot of like the free press, and there's nobody on the road covering the team. So I'm not sure if anybody's really going to ask him about that. But to me, that was curious. I don't know if you guys thought that as well, but I thought Lambert's been playing well. And I will admit, I kind of had question marks about Lambert on the 4th line, because obviously he's a guy that we know has the top 6 potential. But I thought that was just curious. In terms of the speed, I mean, first of all, I think it's kind of lazy when a team loses and you say they look slow. I'm not saying that Drew's saying that. I'm saying that
never been more insulted in my life.
No, I'm saying generally speaking, we do a lot of these post-game shows, and when the Jets are winning, nobody's saying the Jets are slow, and then when they're losing, There's everyone saying the Jets are
but that's
Jets are
my
slow.
point. They only look fast when they're playing their brand of hockey,
right?
Which is probably true for a lot of of teams in the league, to be honest. But they don't have anybody short of Brad Lambert, who will individually wow you with their speed.
Well, I think Kyle Connor is a pretty obvious one. And I think Josh Morrissey's another guy. Like, look, losing Nikolai Ehlers, he's one of the fastest guys in the league, so that's instantly going to make your team slower, right? Like, you through 14 games this season, guys. I mean, we're not used to seeing. We're used to seeing, I should say, Nikolai Ehlers flying around out there, and the Jets just don't have a player close to that. Brad Lambert would be the only guy close to that, but he doesn't have the puck skills and the experience that Nikolai Ehlers has. In terms of, the Jets looking slow, I mean, that's on the coaching staff to figure out. I mean, that's not for us to. I mean, the Jets have enough talented players here that they can be a successful hockey team. And if that means that you need to change up your strategy, then that's something that the coaching staff is going to look at. I certainly don't think mixing up the lines like Scott Arniel. Look, I understand Scott Arniel was that was a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest here, guys. When you shake up the lines like that, that's a wake-up call. I just don't know if that's doing the most to exploit your speed. And that's why I think he'll go right back to Scheifele, Connor Velarde against Anaheim, and he'll go right back to Taves, IFL, and Nemesnikov. I don't think, and then obviously the third and fourth lines, we'll see if Brad Lambert comes back into the lineup. But, it's definitely noticeable. Mm-hmm. And you know what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't make the Jets a different team. Like, right. The Jets they're an older, slower team this year. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have the Nikolai Ehlers burst of speed. You have that in Kyle Connor. But to me, it starts in your own end, and you've got to figure out ways to generate a little bit more offense off the rush, because we definitely have not seen enough of that.
We haven't seen enough of that. We have seen the Jets, I think, hemmed into their own zone far more regularly than we did last year, which, is probably to some extent related to the absence of Dylan Samberg. Probably more than just some extent, probably a significant extent. And of course, the Jets are very eager to get him back in the lineup, whether it is, on this road trip or when they come back from the road trip. They need to see him get into game shape and get into game routine. That will certainly help things from the Jets' perspective. I think that, something that I saw KWB, Kenny's Water Bottle, mention, let's see if I can put it up on the screen, that the team, I think Morgan Barron's absence is noticeable as well, because when he has been in the lineup, and he's been in the lineup for the most part this year, he's moving around the ice very well. He's sort of one of those guys who is going to give you, he almost gets the rest of the guys going with some of his play as of late in this season, and him being out of the lineup on a week-to-week basis, and we don't know exactly what that time frame is, aside from that week to week. Don't know if that's 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, but his absence, I thought, was noticeable in the last couple of games to start this road trip, because he's been so impactful for the Jets so far early this year, Dave.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Morgan Barron's absence is hurting this team, and especially when Scott Arniel told us that it was week to week. You thought, okay, if he misses a game or two, it's not the end of the world, but we've seen it. We've seen it that he's been, improved on faceoffs, and his ability on the PK. And luckily for the Jets, the PK hasn't suffered. They're still a top 5. I think they're third overall in the PK. Their PP, not through Morgan Barron. That's not the question you asked me, Drew, but I was going to get to that, because that, I think, is a concerning trend where they've dropped like a stone. They've gone from, again, a top 3 power play team to 11th overall in the NHL. So something, Ezzy, that we were I should be a little surprised by, based on the fact that they were top in the league throughout from start to end last year, and then this year have again, the trend has been decreasing success on the power play. And with these weapons, including Kyle Connor, who, what is it now, 60 games he hasn't scored on the power play or something insane like that. So that to me is the most concerning trend, in addition, because again, what's the whole point of special teams is to give you an advantage, a power play advantage. And so if you're not getting it done in a game that's only a 1-all game, and you have power play opportunities, right, boys, and you don't score on them, it's not allowing you to step on the throat of your opponent maybe the way you did last year. So That to me, I mean, Morgan Barron is a key piece. I'm not denying it, but it's not like we're talking about a guy who's out of the lineup who has 10 goals already this season. So I think I'm not diminishing his importance, but I think there's other things I think the Jets' structure has been poor. And again, I think the lack of success on special teams is really hurting them.
And we've got a few comments, going, people talking about Samberg's going to help. That's an obvious one, right? Like, and that's why, it's been hard sometimes to analyze the Jets' success or lack of success lately, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the fact that you've got two key pieces out of the lineup, right? Like, I think they've missed a Cole Perfetti to take some of the load off of the top line, right? Yeah. Basically, we talked about it. A big reason why the Jets got off to the 9-3 start was because of the special teams and how dominant the top line was, right? And what's happened in the last two games? The top line has no points, right? Like, that's no coincidence. Almost the whole team has no points, to be honest with you, in the last two games. But I mean, we know that this Jets team goes the way that the Scheifele line takes them, right? And that doesn't mean that, they don't get secondary offense from other sources, because we've talked about Vlad Nemesnikov's had a great start to the season. Nino Niederreiter's had a great start to the season, almost scored yesterday. Alex Nedeljkovic made just a crazy A-plus save on Niederreiter, right? So the Jets have had other guys, but when Lowry comes back and then Barron and Nyquist go to the lineup, well, now you're looking for, a guy like Tanner Pearson to provide a little bit more offense. You're asking Cole Koepke to provide a little bit of offense, right? Parker Ford centering the fourth line. Like, the Jets' depth has been tested here, guys. Like, it really has, with all these injuries. Mm-hmm. And yes, Samberg and Perfetti are going to come back, we expect, later in the road trip, if everything goes according to plan. Perfetti obviously is ahead of Samberg. That's going to help. But, this team has the ability, like, it's still a good team. And that's why, I always kind of chuckle with hockey, because the first period, the Jets could have had 3 or 4 goals, and then the game's most likely over. Based on Hellebuck usually doesn't allow 3 or 4 goals. So it's like the Jets looked really good in the first period. It's been a bit of Jekyll and Hyde. It really has. And that's why, I'm concerned, but I'm not concerned that, like I said, I don't think the Jets are, going to go on a 5 or 6 game losing streak here. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but the power play's got to be better. It's got to be sharper. We know that the Jets feast off of the power play.
Right.
And, the Jets have got to stop playing so much in their own zone and turning the puck over. That's been a bigger concern that you just didn't see a lot last year. You didn't see this type of sloppy play. And it's not just last night's game against San Jose. It was against LA. We saw that earlier in the games against Seattle and Utah, those losses, right? The Jets were having trouble managing the puck in their own zone, and it might be, a situation where you bring in Colin Miller. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Lambert's back in the lineup tomorrow.
These are replacements that they can make, or changes you can make around the edges, and no question about it. I mean, the coaching staff, I know that there's an effort towards not load management, but they are trying to cycle guys in and out of the lineup to keep guys fresh and keep them, as game ready as possible. And which is, not a bad thing to do necessarily, but at the same time, the results haven't been there as of late. So I wonder if you do begin to start to see a bit of a narrowing of the roster. And, this is the core 12 or the core 13 that they're going to go with, or the core 6 defensemen that they're going to go with, instead of the sort of repeated revolving door around the fringes of the roster. I don't know that, but, it's something that this team has more warts than I think we expected at this point of the season, I would say. Now, those warts might be solved by the return of a Perfetti or the return of a Dylan Samberg, which is not far away is the expectation. Mm-hmm. But you're absolutely right about their own zone play is far more concerning. Last year, they were the team that hemmed in other teams and were able to sort of roll shift after shift after shift with the ice tilted. Have not seen that nearly as often this year as we did last year. There's, the top line is obviously the offensive catalyst. There's guys below them in the lineup that have had good starts to the season. Nemesnikov, Niederreiter. But when the top line is, they're never really shut down altogether, but when they don't have their A+ game, you do begin to, or when even an A game, But when the game maybe becomes a B+ game for them, you really do notice the drop off in performance, offensive performance on this Jets team, Dave.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think the point Ez made, the puck management is such a key one, because even if you're not playing the best hockey, the most connected hockey, avoiding those mental mistakes. I mean, the Neil Pionk pass to Hayden Fleury attempt to Hayden Fleury. Yeah. I mean, in theory, it's funny that he went to Fleury because Fleury had pressure coming, whereas Tanner Pearson was going to the corner and he could have at least offloaded it there. But that's what I mean. And I'm not blaming this solely on Neil Pionk, because it wasn't, again, there were other, like Jonathan Taves on that goal against was pretty egregious. So, I mean, it's not one play that loses you a hockey game, because as we've detailed throughout the course of last night's show and already this morning, I mean, there were numerous instances where the Jets things broke down for the Winnipeg Jets, and Connor Hellebuck was there to bail them out. But had you not had another A+ performance from Connor Hellebuck, it may have been a different story. So, but just again, two guys going behind the net and nobody going to the front, and then the guys going to the front playing soft and just allowing the Sharks to take control of the crease. There's just so many things that you look at that and you're like, wow, like that's something that didn't really transpire a lot last year. So, and I agreed with one of the comments, we can't reference last year anymore. I mean, it's a new year, a new team, and what, as Baba Tootsie used to say, what was as. So it's not a function of like being able to say, well, they were, again, you're right. You don't have the same players. So you don't have that sort of easily gaining the zone with Nikolai Ehlers that you did last year. So you have to adjust. You can't say, well, this is what we looked like last year. This is what we did last year. Now you say, well, this is what we do this year. And you're absolutely right, Drew. This is not the brand of hockey we're used to seeing. A solid cycle in the offensive zone, allowing you to get, replacements on and controlling the puck for a minute and a half and making and really tiring out the other team. And it's more almost trading opportunities and trading chances. And that's not, again, what is the Winnipeg Jets style. And while they may not be last year's team, the coaching staff has a brand that they want to employ, which is not currently being employed. So it is a better collective effort. It is, like I said, a lot of the things that this team needs to be doing and isn't doing. And yeah, it's curious choices by players to that result in breakdowns, and right now they're in it a bit, and yeah, they're going to face a really tough test against an Anaheim team that is scoring a bunch of goals right now.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, to your point, I'm thinking back to last year, the play that the Jets executed so well so many times was a low to high play, right? Where they'd be winning a puck battle behind the opponent's net or low down in the opponent's zone, and they would then have somebody coming downhill, from the blue line or from somewhere, higher up in the offensive zone, getting open, getting, great opportunities that way, just by winning puck battles first and foremost. Really, we've seen far fewer of those plays this year. In fact, I would argue we've seen the Jets be on the victim side of more of those plays than we've seen the Jets necessarily execute those plays, which is just, again, I think it's just symptoms of a Winnipeg Jets team that is not fully functioning on all. They're not firing on all cylinders.
No, definitely not.
And again, these are when you're still 9-5. It's a good problem to have. So, there does need to be the perspective, but there are signs of this in these 14 games that there are things that are not it isn't as easy for the Jets as it was last year. Is that a function of a natural drop off from last season? Possibly. Is it a function of now you're getting every other team's, A game, A+ game, because you are the quote unquote benchmark, or you are a benchmark opponent for a lot of teams? Probably to some extent. Those San Jose Sharks last night, I think, were pretty pleased as punch to be able to say that they defeated the Winnipeg Jets, holding the Jets up in a high standard of a good opponent to defeat. So the Jets need to find a way to, as a result, alter their game a little bit and elevate it so that they're not resting on their laurels. Not to say that I think that they are, or that they've become fat and lazy and happy to have just expect the other team to roll over. But now you got to sort of dig a little bit deeper and find a way to even execute and push yourself up the mountain just a little bit higher.
Drew, you just mentioned alter their style, alter their what they're doing a little bit. Like, I think, when you're talking about low to high plays and everything like that, like, how much did we see yesterday where the Jets had, extended zone time where they were able to build something off the cycle, and get it back to the defense for some shots. Like, we've seen the Jets do this, right? Like, It's not like we haven't seen them do this year. I'm not talking about last year.
No, didn't see it last night, though.
No, we did not see it last night. And so that is what is so, I think, troubling about last night's loss. Again, we're not ringing the alarm bells here, and we're not saying that, again, at least I'm not saying that I think the Jets are going to go on some long losing streak.
Go spend your playoff money. You won't need it this year.
Well, exactly. I'm just saying, like, based on these last two games here, and I think the Jets have gotten out of what makes them successful. I'm not going to say they got out of their structure. I think that's too oversimplistic to say that. I think what's happened here is the Jets are not dictating the pace of play. The other team has been dictating the pace of play. Obviously, LA is a different story because LA slows the game down. They slow down the neutral zone. We know that. San Jose is a much different team. Stylistically, they're all speed. San Jose is an all-speed team where Ryan Warsofsky has said, like, you use your speed, like we've talked about with Macklin Celebrini's goal. If you have the opportunity, you go, right? Like, that's clearly the type of team. They're a high-octane team.
Well, I saw Doug, I think last night in the post-game show was talking about how, San Jose doesn't play with much structure. Now, that probably benefits them because they're a young, fast, exciting team. But when you're playing, when you're a structure-based team like the Jets are, it can sometimes be a difficult game to be playing against a pond hockey team. But especially when you can't necessarily, when that pond hockey team is feeling good about itself. When when you play an unstructured team and they don't have a lot of confidence, you can grind them down and end the game pretty quickly. San Jose last night, they're coming in hot. They're on a winning streak. They're excited to play their style. They think that their style translates well against a structured team because of the speed and the youthful exuberance. It was like the Team North America, if you remember back in the day at that World Cup. They were a lot of fun. They didn't play with much structure, but it was put the puck on the ice and let's go have some pond hockey sort of style.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the Jets have to find other ways to generate offense. That's kind of, I would say, the theme of what's going on. Yes, the Jets need to clean up some of the mistakes they're making in their own zone. But I think, to me, which is just as troubling, is the lack of offense that we're seeing in spurts. We saw it in the first period. Like, again, I think it's important to say the first period was really good. But the problem is hockey's 3 periods. So that's not going to cut it, especially against an up-and-coming team like the Sharks, right? And they were playing really well last night. So I agree with you, Drew. The Jets do need to dig deep. They aren't getting Samberg and Perfetti back for the Anaheim game. So they're going to have to find a way, and they're going to have much more of a complete effort to win that game on Sunday.
Yeah, that'll be another team against, again, the Anaheim Ducks, young, talented. Leo Carlson has been absolutely incredible. He's on fire for the Anaheim Ducks so far this season. Cutter Gauthier, to your point, I think it was one of you said yesterday, can Cutter Gauthier slow down a little bit?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
The heater that he's on. Troy Terry. I mean, young, fast, energetic, and excited to play hockey right now. Once these young teams in particular, get a taste for winning after so many consecutive years of losing, oh, wow, winning feels a lot better. Let's keep doing that rather than the misery that they've been experiencing for the majority part of their career. Yes, I see that Chevy's ego is talking about Jacob Trouba. He's turned back the fountain of time a little bit. 8 points for Jacob Trouba so far. He's sort of been rejuvenated as he's the veteran presence, a veteran Sherpa, if you will, for a young team in Anaheim, the Jets and the Ducks. That'll be tomorrow night's late game. Really happy that on a Sunday night, the game doesn't start till 9 o'clock. That's a great way to kick off your work week, isn't it? A nice late night, Sunday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show entering in to Monday morning. We'll take our first commercial break. When we come back, much more on the Jets, and the Ducks. Kelly Moore in 30 minutes time. Jeff O'Neill in an hour's time. It's the Illegal Curve hockey show at this time. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site. Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Hour number 1 continues here on this Saturday morning. We remind everybody, of course, that the Illegal Curve post-game show will be following the Jets and the Ducks game tomorrow night, so you can tune in for that. If you haven't already done so, just smash that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn your notifications on. That's the best way to make sure you never miss anything that we do on this here YouTube channel. Big day, big morning in the Mindell household. Shout out to Laura. She did Wordle and won this morning. So, big accomplishment, really,
wow.
The rest of the
Wait,
day.
People still do Wordle?
We do Wordle every day. You don't do Wordle?
Couples who Wordle together stay together, Drew.
I think that's a great philosophy, Dave. I mean, we each have our own separate accounts, of course, but we
obviously, well, you're not getting it in one.
No, you know how difficult it is for me to think of 5-letter words. That's not easy for me. My brain don't work that well. But anyways, big day for Laura for getting that word.
That is huge, though. That is huge. Is that like the intellectual equivalent of a hole in one?
Yeah, I can go with that parallel.
Yeah,
I can go
like
with
Laura
that.
got a hole in one today.
Yeah,
Look out, Kenny Weeb. Laura, here comes Laura.
That's right. Imagine, too bad you can't do Wordle more than once a day.
Well, if she really wants to look smart, she would have done it on your account as well in one.
That's true, but then that's sort of it's less of an accomplishment once you know the answer.
Yes, thank you.
No. Okay, just once.
What was the word, by the way?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't done Wordle yet, so I have to find out after. She can't tell me the word until I do my own Wordle.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do Wordle while we're here. Should we? Maybe you want to bring it up on the screen and we can do a communal Wordle, or is that
is that showing you the depth of the Jets right now? Is that we've decided that Wordle is more interesting? The one thing I want to talk about, because I think it's a worthwhile topic, although I'm hijacking Drew's.
No, hijack away. I had something, but you clearly have something more important.
Well, no, but I think the lack of offense from the defense is a big topic to discuss, because I think we saw yesterday, and I joked about it, right, Ezzy, that Josh Morrissey finally tied Logan Stanley for well done, AJ, but that he finally tied Logan Stanley for the team lead of goal scoring from the defense with his second of the season, but just not enough offense from the defense. And Neil Pionk and again, this isn't the Bash Neil Pionk show, but I mean, one of the things that Neil Pionk does is provide offense, and he's not doing that right now. So.
Sorry, to that point, though, I mean, I think so much of why Neil Pionk's got 2 assists. You're absolutely right. That's not sufficient.
In 14 games.
Not sufficient.
And just signed, how long an extension did you just sign?
I think it was 7 years, was it not? I mean, I have to look it up off the top
So
of
my
head.
point is that you can't have a second pairing guy who's got 2 points in 14 games.
Well, I think
and
Dylan Samberg.
Right. And well, for sure, but also the importance of getting the puck through. I think I saw the comment, like Logan Stanley was getting the puck through. He was getting at least through the puck to the net. I mean, the team is not accomplishing from the back end. They're not having that success. So I think it's part of the worrying trend that this team is showing overall. And again, like I said, it's not house on fire time just yet. But again, through 14 games, remember we were talking about this team and I was like, okay, a couple games in, what are the trends? Well, you're not making too much of a statement based on 2 games in or 5 games in. But once you get to 10 games in, 15 games in, you're starting to see patterns. And for me, that's just another one of those ones that, like I said, not the lack of scoring on the power play. And I saw the comment, I don't remember who said it, so my apologies to the chat. But, the comment was that, I think it was KWB, but if you're scoring on the power play, there's a good chance it might be masking some things because you're getting wins. So again, maybe even if your play isn't where it needs to be, then you're able to alleviate that because of the fact that you're scoring on the power play and you're able to hold on and get victories because you have one of the best goaltenders, if not the best goaltender in the entire NHL. So, but I just think that that's something that hasn't really been talked about a lot is the fact that the defense isn't scoring right now.
Yeah.
And like I said, Josh Morrissey picked up his second goal of the season yesterday. And I know he's got a pile of assists, but it's just a function of, like, if you remember, and I know this is not Rick Bonus's team, but his whole philosophy with his same defensive core largely was 45 goals, was it, from the defense? And right now they're sitting at what? 5?
5 goals. I mean, you have 3 players who've played in Neil Pionk, Luke Shed, and Hayden Fleury, who've played a combined 38 games, given, the number of games, and they've got a grand total of 2 assists. I mean, Hayden Fleury's played 13 games for this team, which means he's played everything but that one game where I think was that the Philly game he sat out because he was injured, or was that the Islanders game? I can't remember, one or the other. Mm-hmm. And he's still looking for his first point of the season as well. So I mean, that's not sufficient. You're absolutely right, Dave. Which I think, again, too much time in their own zone, mm-hmm. because they're not able to get the puck out of their own zone. What does Dylan Samberg do very, very well? He kills plays.
Everything.
What did you say?
Is it everything?
Well, yeah, to some extent, absolutely, that's the case. He kills plays in the neutral zone. He kills opposition rushes in the neutral zone. He kills opposition rushes at the blue line. He transitions the puck out pretty well as well. The Jets are having trouble getting up the ice. That's where the problem is. They're having trouble moving the puck out of their own zone at 5-on-5. And I think you're seeing the results bear itself out in some of these numbers, but you're absolutely right. And that's a good point that you brought up, that the offense from the back end is just not nearly good enough right now, Ezzy, for the Winnipeg Jets to succeed on a long-term basis.
I just struck out on Wordle. I wasn't listening to anything you guys were saying there for the last 2 or 3 minutes.
I could see he was determined to be doing something else.
Right, and the thing is, like, I got 3 green after the second one, and then I just
what happens if other people are
Yeah,
going to do it?
people haven't done it yet. You don't.
I know, I haven't given
nobody wants
anything-
to hear about your Wordle breakdown.
yeah, we want to hear about Laura's.
We want to hear about we want to hear your assessment about the points we were just discussing, even if you weren't actively listening.
No, I know you guys were talking about getting more offense from the defense, and that's, I think, something that you always want. You always want to be getting those contributions, and I think it's been noticeable, right? Like, obviously, might not be as topical because Josh Morrissey scored last night, right? But that's only his second goal of the year, and Neil Pionk, I believe, is still looking for his first goal of the year, right? Which is surprising that we're heading into game 15 and he still hasn't scored yet. But
he's got 2 assists. I mean, he's got 2 assists in 14 games, as you clearly weren't listening, but that's
I was going to say, I didn't want to out Ezzy, but he was clearly not listening to us.
Yeah, we were just talking.
I just said he has no goals.
Yeah, I know, but we've touched on that. The point is, how do they get more? Again, it's just Dylan Samberg's absence. He's a hugely important player. Don't get us wrong.
He's the Jets' second best defenseman.
Right, but it shouldn't result in just everything on the back end sort of collapsing. And an inability to perform on the offensive side of the puck.
Right.
You need to be able to mitigate injuries. And yes, people will say that they've mitigated them plenty well with their 9-5 record. And I definitely have time for that argument because the record is their record. But at some point in time, the PDO, which was inflated for the Jets, is beginning to catch up to them. The PDO, you're going to regress to the mean. You're seeing it already. That, when you're up at 105 PDO or whatever the number was for a long time to start this season, it always gets down to close to 100. And you're seeing it's now at 102.
Drew, what's your PDA rating?
My PDA, my public displays of affection. I'm not a big PDA guy. I'm confident in my own skin. I don't need to see I don't think anybody else needs to see me engaging in any PDA whatsoever. I mean,
nobody wants to see that.
No.
As the only Drew would take that clear joke and just run with it.
Hey, you set me up. I'm going to go with it a little bit.
That's fair.
Thank you. The Jets need to find a way to generate more right now, and it definitely on the back end. Hayden Fleury, Hayden Fleury signed that contract extension with the Jets. I don't think anybody's regretting it because it's only $950,000.
Yeah, it's fine.
So that's fine. But when you've played 14 games and you're known more as a offensive, puck-moving, good skating defenseman than you are a shutdown.
And Fleury's hit some posts and crossbars. I mean, he's had some chances,
and
but
he hasn't been bad. I'm not saying that he's the reason for the struggles of the Winnipeg Jets. When you're a third pairing defenseman, it's not a reasonable expectation. But I'm sure Hayden Fleury expects to have more than 0 points in 13 games played. I mean, Luke Shen. Father Time is undefeated.
Well, why would you put Luke Shen into the lineup against a fast team against like San Jose? I don't understand. Unless you were just expecting to play him against Tyler Toffoli the entire time.
They just lean on each other. Neither of them have to skate. They just lean against each other, and it's easier.
I think it's time to give Colin Miller a few games in a row as opposed to, I guess he just recently, did he play 2 games in a row? I think he did against
Pittsburgh. But I think those were also more injury related because Shen was banged up after blocking that shot
against Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh,
yeah.
Right. So I think you go with Colin Miller tomorrow against
Chicago?
Anaheim.
Doesn't matter. It's one of the last couple games on the homestand.
Yeah, and we talked about. I think there will be lineup changes, and I think, it's time to start. I think thinking a little bit outside of the box to get things going. Like I said, maybe you guys disagree with me, but I don't think you're messing up Scheifele, Connor, Velarde. I don't see it. I know people are saying, well, based on the line blender coming out, what can that tell us about what the lines are going to be against Anaheim? Like, knowing Scott O'Neill, I think he's going to go like Brad Lambert. Like, do you put him in a top 6 role?
No,
I like him on the 4th line. Like, I think you put Lambert in, and that's why I think that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. Like I think it goes for Brad Lambert in the lineup. I thought he was playing some good hockey. And also I by the way, guys, I think, I'm not a betting man, but also Chibrikov's double minor is not going to help him stay in the lineup.
He's taken way too many penalties, and I understand that that's he's eager. It's not like he's deliberately trying to take this number of minor penalties, but at some point in time, and the penalties haven't yet hurt them, but at some point in time, you've taken too many minor penalties. He's taken 5 minor penalties in the 6 games that he's played. I mean, that's a penalty a game. That's too many minor penalties.
Yeah, coaches don't like that. And by the way, I'm not saying Chibrikov played poorly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I like right now. I think you go with Lambert.
Penalties.
Yeah, no, exactly. And
I would agree with you. I think you go. You go back. I'd be surprised if they don't go back to sort of the basic regular lineup. Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, et cetera, et cetera. You improved your point. You made your point. I don't think you saw anything from the juggled lines that would give you an indicator, Dave, that these are lines that are going to work, and we need to, employ them on a more regular basis now, because we saw so much of a better improvement to the play in the third period. We didn't see that whatsoever.
It was the opposite, actually.
Yeah, you made your point that the second period wasn't good enough, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it all up and see. But I would expect that you're going to go back to the original lines for tomorrow's game. And I would put Brad Lambert back in there because I thought he was very good. I thought him and Parker Ford and, they had good chemistry. So why would you mess with that? And they were fine, of course, with Cole Koepke as well. So
yeah,
I would expect a return to the regular tomorrow against the Anaheim Ducks. But at the same time, I'm not sure that that's necessarily going to solve all your problems. I'm not sure that's going to solve your foot speed issues. I'm not sure that's going to solve your lack of sort of depth scoring. I'm not sure that's going to get Jonathan Taves, back and going a little bit more than we've seen over the last few games.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to come with a Cole Perfetti. That's going to come with a Dylan Samberg. And that's going to come with time, really. I think you're at this stage of the season, let's say, the Jets need to sort of just tread water for a little bit, and then they'll again, I think, expect to find their skating legs a little bit better again.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. But again, you don't really have the luxury of time, right? Because these games with the condensed schedule, it's not as if the Jets are playing a ton of back-to-backs. They're obviously not, right. Especially and none during this road trip. And I'm not going to say that the 9 hours on the tarmac wouldn't impact them to some degree in the game against the Sharks. Because, I mean, you really look at that third period, right? And I'm not trying to build in excuses for the Jets because they're going to have none tomorrow in Anaheim. We know they're already practicing, or they're set to practice, I should say, because it's only 8 o'clock there in Anaheim. But the fact of the matter is they're practicing this afternoon. Mm-hmm. Then they got a game against the Ducks team that, as we've already touched on, has been very effective. So
a Ducks team that's playing tonight in Vegas. So it is the second half of a back-to-back for Anaheim.
And it's that unusual one where you're at their, you're already there and they have to fly in. And so, yeah, I mean, you have to take advantage of this game. And we're going to see, based on this first period tomorrow, boys, how effective the Jets are going to be. But, I mean, again, they know the one thing about this Jets team is it's not like they're unaware. Nobody's going to tell you, hey, we got outchanced in, high danger chances 5-1 in the third period. But we had and the crazy part is they had a chance to win that game because it was 1-1. Yeah. Connor Hellebuck had been very good, kept them in it, even though they were being dominated in the second. And so they were amazingly still with a chance to win. Cole Koepke scores that goal. They very easily could have won, which would have been crazy if they would have won that game because they wouldn't have, the deserve to win-o-meter would have not been very high for Winnipeg Ezzy, but it doesn't matter when you bank those 2 points. So it looks like a house on fire now because of the fact, of course, that you lost the game. So you're definitely going to need to bounce back. And we've touched on, it's the first hour, not even the first hour of the program. We've already touched on probably half a dozen things that the Jets need to clean up. Now, are they going to get it all cleaned up by tomorrow? Probably not. But again, they're going to need to be, you're just going to need to show that those changes are happening, even if they're not happening all collectively in one game.
Yeah, look, you're right. You're not going to flip a switch and solve your problems and immediately be 100% better. But you need to see that, at least the incremental signs. You can't be getting caved in. You can't be looking disjointed. You can't be sloppy. It's the sloppiness. It's the carelessness. It's the desperation and the inability to string together multiple shifts in a row of positive performance that is, I think, a worrying sign that is, impacting the team's ability to succeed. The Jets were a pain in the behind to play against last year. Now, as Adam Lowry gets back up to game speed, and you saw a glimpse of it when he absolutely shattered Timothy Liljegren into the sideboards there, you'll see more of that. You'll see the Jets be able to lean on their opponents more and be able to use that size and strength and physicality to their advantage. Right now, they're not quite at that spot, though, Ez.
No, and let's be honest here. They're in a rut. This team is in a rut. Like, you go back to, they lost 2 and 3. They lost to the Kraken. They lost to the Mammoth. Like, the Jets are, in a stage here where, they're struggling. Yes, they arguably played their best games of the season against Pittsburgh and Chicago right at home. We kind of agreed that those were very impressive wins. And Chicago and Pittsburgh, even though those aren't the best teams in the league, those are teams that have been playing pretty well, especially Pittsburgh is still near the top of the Metropolitan Division, right? So I think that, the Jets need to find a way to get out of this rut. And I think sometimes that means simplifying your game. I know it's a cliche, but, you're not always going to be able to rely on pretty goals off the rush. I think, the Jets could definitely, to Dave's point, benefit from the power play being better. I mean, this is a team, a big reason why they won last year, in addition to obviously Connor Hellebuck's brilliance, is the fact that they had the number 1 power play in the league. And the power play lately, not only has it not been producing, it hasn't looked good. And I think that's part of it. So there's a lot of things here. Dave's right. I mean, we're talking about a lot of things. They got to, Drew mentioned this just, a few seconds ago. They got to clean up how they're playing in their own zone. They've got to get back to more of their structure, and they've got to start getting some consecutive shifts going here and to feel good about themselves. And I think they have to also make sure that they're and the thing is, it's not like the coaching staff and the team isn't talking about this. Obviously, we're not in the room, guys, but the second period has been, it's almost getting to the point where it's bizarre how much they've been struggling in the second period. Because you watch them in the first period and you're thinking, okay, like the Jets are playing well tonight. The Sharks are also playing well. This is going to be like a back and forth type of game. And then yesterday, for whatever reason, everything kind of fell apart and the Jets were having trouble making, 2 consecutive passes.
Well, I think it was Murat who said either on his social media account or in the Athletic saying, how much of that second period struggles is tied into the longer change. Now it's not like it seems like, oh, it's just a couple extra strides. It shouldn't be that big of a difference, and that shouldn't be causing you all these problems. But it's amazing in this game, how a couple extra strides is not an insignificant amount. We've seen it. Well, if that player had taken 1 extra stride, he'd been able to be back and break up on the back check, but he didn't, and as a result, the puck's in the back of the net. I don't know. It seems odd that just that extra, the longer change is what's causing you so much trouble. But it's got to be something. To your point, you got to look at the factors and what's one of the differences between periods 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 is that long change. So are the Jets having trouble sort of adjusting to that, or having to maybe alter their game a little bit to account for the longer change?
Yeah, I mean, and they got caved in the second, but they also got caved in the third. So,
right. So fair enough.
The shorter change didn't exactly say, hey,
didn't solve the problems either.
Didn't solve that issue. So, I mean, it's possible they got more caved in the second than they did in the third, Drew. Right. So it's entirely possible that that is a factor. But ultimately, how does to me, it's not even. You can always have in an 82 game schedule games like these, and this is already more than we're used to. I mean, remember, everybody is thinking, this is the team that got out to a 15-1 start last year. Well, they're not the same team. They're not the same team. We know that. They don't have Nikolai Ehlers. The power play isn't nearly as effective. The defense aren't scoring. We've already gone through it. Now,
and probably most importantly, Dave, they've had injuries to 3 key players, right?
No, there's no question. I mean, you're missing 3 key pieces, and we've said that. But the fact of the matter is, you survived the first month of the season. We said, and before we weren't saying anything life altering in that regard. But the fact of the matter is that we said when training camp ended and we knew that you were going to have no Samberg and Perfetti and Lowry, that how this first month goes is going to be really important for Winnipeg, and their fates later on in the season. Well, they more than did what they needed to do, going 9-3 before you get Adam Lowry back. And I'm not going to blame Adam Lowry to the sudden swoon to 9-5. But the fact of the matter is that you've done what you needed to do. Cole Perfetti is on the precipice of a return. Again, super important. People can minimize it, but we saw with Cole Perfetti, we heard the coaching staff in the St. Louis series. Scott Arniel talked about how important Cole Perfetti was, even though he wasn't scoring until it was very important. But he wasn't scoring. He was the guy who was getting the most chances. So the fact of the matter is that it is important for the secondary scoring to do that. But, goals alone aren't going to be what solves the Jets' problems. I mean, there are other issues, right, which we've detailed throughout the course of this first hour of the show. So I just think that we'll see what kind of response we get from this Jets team tomorrow. I think it's going to be important. And it is funny, I don't make Ginsburg predictions because my last name isn't Ginsburg, but I do feel like this is a traditional one where the Jets are in a bit of a swoon. They're facing a hot team. And this is where they kind of bounce back, and they have that bounce back game. So it'll be a curious one tomorrow. I'm very excited for tomorrow's IC post game show at 11:30 at night, 11:40 at night.
The Jets need to look. The Jets structure very much like they played against San Jose, where San Jose was able to break down the Jets structure, and the Jets weren't able to execute their game as a result. This is another game against Anaheim. I mean, the Anaheim Ducks are leading the league. They're tied with Pittsburgh in terms of goals for. 54 goals for.
Yeah, but look what the Jets did to Pittsburgh, Drew.
Well, the Jets did a very good job. They took they diced them and sliced them and flambéed them and everything under the sun. The Jets hope to do the same against the Anaheim Ducks tomorrow night because Anaheim is a high-flying team. You look at the goals, you look at the goal totals, they're eye-popping. The goals against is equally eye-popping for the Anaheim Ducks. So, I mean, it's not terrible. They're middle of the pack. They're 15th in the league in terms of goals against. So Anaheim is a good hockey team. I mean, are they ahead of their schedule? I don't think anybody necessarily expected them to be where they are at this point. No one expected them to be 9-3-1 to start the season.
Remember, the Ducks beat the Jets twice last year.
I mean, you look up and down that Anaheim roster. There's a lot of very good, very talented players on that Anaheim Ducks team.
And they're only getting better.
And they're getting better, of course. We mentioned the offensive trio. We mentioned Troy Terry and Cutter Gauthier and Leo Carlson. We didn't even mention Mason McTavish. And then you look on the back end. Jackson Lacombe is an incredible defender on the back end for
That's why he got that big deal, Drew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we remember we saw him last year, and he popped off the screen when you saw Jackson Lacombe.
He's an excellent skater.
Yeah. Jacob Trouba, like we mentioned, old friend. There's a lot of Pavel Minchikov, former, what was he, a top 3 pick? I mean, it might not have been that high, but he was pretty. It was pretty
10th,
high.
10th overall.
Okay, there you go. So I knew he was top 10. They have a lot of talent.
You didn't. You actually said he was top 3.
I know, but I knew he was a high draft pick. Thank you, David. I appreciate you. But the point is, a young team, a talented team, a very confident team against the wily old veterans in the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow. It'll be an interesting matchup. It's something to look forward to. We'll have the Illegal Curve post-game show for you tomorrow night, late night, around 11:30, 11:40 p.m. Looking forward to that. When we come back, hour number 2, Kelly Moore, 680 CJOB, Winnipeg Jets game day host. He's going to join us to talk more about the Jets. And then at the bottom of the hour, our good buddy Jeff O'Neill is set to join us as well. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, the Illegal Curve hockey show presented by our friends Play Now. Don't go anywhere. Much more coming right up.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now. Drew Mindell, that's me. Dave Manouk, he's in the top right corner. Ezra Ginsburg's in the bottom middle. We're thrilled to welcome back to the program our good friend from 680 CJOB. He's the sports director. He's the Jets game night host. He's Kelly Moore. Kelly, good morning. Thanks so much for waking up with us. How are things?
I guess it would help if I put my mic on. Here we go. Can I use the excuse that I got home at about 1:45 after the broadcast last night?
My goodness, that is this last 2 weeks is not fun for those of us in our fields of work. It's makes for some late nights and then early mornings right after.
Exactly, and then when the team does not play as well as it intended to when it was first starting out on the road trip, that kind of adds to it a little bit, but not totally surprising. We knew San Jose was going to be tough after watching the way they absolutely dismantled Seattle in their most recent game. And then the recent history of the Winnipeg Jets at Crypto.com Arena would suggest that the kind of game that we saw on Tuesday night is exactly what could have been expected. But of course, you are also of the, I don't want to say hope, but I think expectation after the way they played against Chicago and Pittsburgh to wrap up the homestand, that they would be better. And so far they haven't. And we had Scott Arneal live on our post-game show last night, and I don't know if you guys caught any of that audio or not, but he was bitterly disappointed.
bitterly disappointed, and not a happy Winnipeg Jets coach. You could sort of see that, throughout the course of the game. He was stewing behind the bench, watching his team perform the way they have. There's been more than, just one or two performances like that so far this year, Kelly. So the record is still good. The on-ice performances have had some, ups and downs, maybe more downs than we were used to last year. Is there signs, are there things to be particularly concerned about, or is this just areas that need to be cleaned up? Which sort of the two would you lean towards?
Well, let's just put it into context here. Last year, the start of the season was absolutely magical. At this time 1 year ago, they were 13-1 instead of 9-5. So 9-5 in consideration of everything that this hockey club has had to endure so far is not entirely disappointing. 9-5 still gets you into a top 3 in the Central Division, but what I guess the main concern is they've done such a nice job of rebounding from losses with much better performances so far this year. And last night was the first time that they have come up with two, let's call them what they are. They're clunkers, they're duds, however you want to categorize it, back to back. So that would be concerning, especially going into Anaheim. Now, on our pregame show, we before the Tuesday night game in Los Angeles, we, as a panel, decided, okay, what was going to be the most difficult game on this road trip? What was going to be the most winnable game? And in my estimation, the most difficult game is the one coming up on Sunday, because right now the Anaheim Ducks are a wagon. It'll be interesting to see how they play in Vegas tonight. That's the one benefit, I guess, the Jets get, is that they're in their hotel rooms watching that game or doing whatever it is they want to do on a before game night while the Ducks are playing. So perhaps there's a bit of an advantage there. But if Anaheim keeps going the way they're going, and if the Winnipeg Jets play at the Honda Center tomorrow night like they did the previous two games, it could get ugly.
Kelly, do you have any explanation for why the Jets have struggled so much in the second period? I'm sure you guys have talked about it on the CJOB pregame and postgame show. Last night, it was on display, right? The first period, the Jets could have easily had 3 or 4 goals. If you look at Niederreiter's chance, Velarde's chance, Lowry's breakaway chance, shorthanded, right? Like the Jets' first period was pretty darn good, and then it just kind of all fell apart in the second period. Like, what from watching these games, like, is it just a matter? Is it almost mental at this point?
I don't know, because I thought they'd slayed that dragon somewhat with the wins over Chicago and Pittsburgh, especially Pittsburgh. They played an outstanding second period against the Penguins, so I thought they'd put an end to that. And I actually, for me, the start of the second period, even last night, was a little bit sluggish for both teams. There really wasn't a whole lot of activity, even though there wasn't a whole lot of whistles either. But there was an exchange of scoring opportunities about 8 minutes into the period, one for either team. I think it was Adam Gaudette for San Jose. Oh, and I'm trying to remember who it was for the Winnipeg Jets. I'll grab my notebook here in a minute and I'll get that for you. But it seemed like after that, it opened up, and that played into the hands of the San Jose Sharks. And certainly. Are
you talking about the Velarde 2-on-1 with Kyle Connor?
Yeah, live podcasting here as I reach into my notebook to get my notes here. I should have had this.
Well, there was the Velarde 2-on-1 with Kyle Connor where he tried to go short side. There was the Ty Dellandrea big save by Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
There were a lot of different ones.
I had Colin Graff and Velarde for those chances that were back to back at about the 8-minute mark, and then it just seemed like San Jose started to dictate and be able to control the play. And as a result, the shot attempts in that second period were 26-15 for San Jose. And I would suggest to you guys that most of that was in the back half of the period. So, yeah, I don't know what it is that causes the Winnipeg Jets to do that, but clearly Scott Arniel has seen enough with the way that he completely changed up his forward line combinations, and even for a short time put Neil Pionk with Josh Morrissey and Logan Stanley with Dylan Samberg. He abandoned that quite early into that. I think we only had Pionk and Morrissey playing together for a total of 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So it certainly wasn't through the entire period. But as a coach, I don't think you can show your displeasure any more than doing to the forward lines what Scott Arniel did, and what really hit home for us. And I'm sure you guys had the same type of reaction. When you split up Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor as a head coach, you mean business.
Yeah.
No question about that, Kelly. I'm just curious about your thoughts on Adam Lowry. I mean, he had obviously, as he said, that really good shorthanded chance. Obviously, he's only played 2 games in 6 months, so it's going to take a little bit of time for the captain to get his legs back. But from getting him back in the last 2 games, what have you seen from him so far?
Well, I thought I saw a noticeable improvement last night from game 1, and I think it's only going to get better for him. Now, keeping in mind that they had Tanner Pearson on the right side Tuesday night in Los Angeles, they had Nikita Chibrikov on their right side with Nino and Adam last night until the lines got shaken up considerably, and then he wound up, playing in that new combination with Vlad Nemesnikov and Kyle Connor. Yeah. So I don't think that they're going to keep those line combinations for Anaheim, but I wonder, guys, if they perhaps keep certain duos together and then take a look at different line mates, like go back to Scheifele and Connor, Taves and Nemesnikov, Lowry and Niederreiter, and then kind of mix and match a little bit there. And of course, Cole Perfetti in a regular jersey yesterday for the morning skate. He'll get a practice in today before they head out for Anaheim. And I'm thinking that from the Jets' perspective, if Cole Perfetti comes in, then you could just have him slot in with Nemesnikov and Taves, and that gives you just a little bit more, a few more options from the coaching staff perspective of what you want to do with the other lines, if you even want to go there. Right. Because those lines have been constant pretty much since coming out of training camp when they haven't been affected by injuries. There's been a little bit of tinkering with the middle six, but I don't know that I would be willing to bet that they'll continue to split up that Velarde, Scheifele, and Connor line. I mean, it was just last Saturday that they had that terrific game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, we have to always put these kind of things in context too. To mix
a week is a lifetime.
Yeah, it really is. It is when you think about how things can go south on a hockey club.
Yeah, it quickly can. Kelly Moore, 680 CJOB sports director, is our guest here on the Illegal Curve hockey show. The Jets and the Ducks will be tomorrow. You can catch that game, of course, with our friends at 680 CJOB and Power 97 on the FM dial. Kelly, one of the big elements or big additions that Rick Bowness made when he became head coach was more offense from the defense, and that carried over with Scott Arniel. We're not seeing that this year. We got Josh Morrissey, got a second goal of the season. He's been Josh Morrissey. I don't think anybody would complain about his performance. But Neil Pionk's only got 2 assists. Hayden Fleury, who is more known as a puck mover than he is a defensive stalwart, still looking for his first point in the season. We were talking about this earlier on the program. How concerned would you be with the lack of offense from the Jets back end? And do you think that maybe, the return relatively imminently, we think, of Dylan Samberg might be the panacea for a lot of those problems?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think probably from Neil Pionk's perspective, for sure, it's not like he hasn't been active. How many times have we seen Neil Pionk either carry the puck into the offensive zone and create something out of that, or dump and then chase himself to try to set things up down low? I think he's also been impacted by the power play, which, let's face it, guys, has not been nearly as productive in the early going this season as it was a year ago. It's in a 1-for-14 funk now in the last 5 games, and that did not happen to this power play until sometime in January last year. I think it was actually just before the Four Nations break that it finally started to slow down a little bit.
Right.
So Neil, I think, has been impacted by that. If you didn't see the Jets defense activating, then I think there'd be cause for concern. But we've even seen Logan Stanley get in there and get involved. There was a couple of times last night where he worked a give and go with Mark Scheifele, and
he dangled.
Had a decent look. So as much as we just want it to happen because the Jets defense is activating, Hayden Fleury has even been involved. But I think where you bring up the idea of Dylan Samberg coming back into the lineup, Drew, and how that could impact someone individually in terms of Neil Pionk. I just think he's so comfortable playing with Dylan. It's gone well with Logan Stanley, but it's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that I'm concerned singularly about that, but it's definitely part of the package where when you hear people like Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor or Scott Arniel saying, we haven't played our best hockey yet, once the defense starts picking up maybe 3 or 4 points a game, then you'll be able to say, okay, well, they're getting a lot closer now to playing their best hockey, because this defense is certainly capable of it when it's set up the way that it should be. If you have Morrissey and DeMello, Morrissey can be the offensive catalyst there. Dylan DeMello, he's had a few assists here and there, but he also hasn't factored in offensively to the same degree that he did a year ago. You've got Pionk, who could certainly take off, and then the third pair is going to be real interesting. If it's Shen and Stanley, then they're going to be more physical. I don't know, although Logan Stanley is tied for the lead in defense scoring for the Winnipeg Jets this year. So let's not underestimate him. Whenever a player is taken in the first round, they have a skill level. And yes, it doesn't always translate to the NHL level, but I think we've seen more comfortability from Logan Stanley this year getting involved in the offense than we have in any of his previous years.
No, I agree. I think, for a guy that's taken a lot of criticism, I think Logan Stanley deserves to be praised for how he's played in a second pair role, because obviously that's not where he's best suited. We all know that. He's more of a third pairing defenseman at the NHL level. And I wanted to ask you, Kelly, I was really surprised that Scott Arniel took out Brad Lambert. I'm not saying that's the reason why the Jets lost the game yesterday, but I thought the two previous games that he was playing on the fourth line, I thought he was really effective. And Nikita Chibrikov obviously takes that double minor for high sticking, so that's not going to help his cause.
No, and they had that egregious giveaway that
yes.
Certainly Connor Hellebuck saved his bacon on that stop off Ty Dellandrea.
Mm-hmm. So I guess you're probably thinking the same thing as me, Kelly, that most likely Lambert comes back in tomorrow versus Anaheim.
Well, if Cole Perfetti comes in, then that takes up that spot up front anyway. So I would think that both Lambert and Chibrikov might be out of the lineup. I didn't think Brad really played all that well against Los Angeles. Nobody did. But that fourth line was used extremely sparingly. It almost went back to the early days when that Jets fourth line would get 8 or 9 shifts in 3 or 4 minutes in a hockey game. That's what it kind of wound up, for that line. In LA. So, and even last night, I think they only had something like 8 shifts through the first 2 periods of the game, and then once the blender came out, then the lines got used on a little more of an equitable basis. But I think, like watching Nikita Chibrikov, you almost get the feeling that he understands that the time is just about up for him at the National Hockey League level, that he's probably going back down to the American Hockey League and the Manitoba Moose, because, at some point the Jets are going to get back to health. Nyquist skated in a non-contact jersey yesterday, so at least he's back on the ice and starting to make his way more towards the lineup. I wasn't surprised Chibrikov came back in there, only because of the precedent that the coaching staff and Scott Arniel primarily have set, in that they don't want any of their players sitting for too long, because then you're not giving them the optimal chance to succeed when you finally do put them in the lineup. So from that perspective, it wasn't surprising. And I also don't think that the performances from Brad Lambert or the fourth line as a whole were enough. They played really well against Pittsburgh, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't much to see from them against Los Angeles. So you leave the door open for, well, let's get a fresh body in there, because we don't want them pining away in the press box.
Kelly, none of us knew what Jonathan Toews was going to be when he signed that deal with the Winnipeg Jets back in July, and I would argue that we still don't know what he's going to be, because we're probably going to be basing our assessment on what he's able to do for the playoffs and for this team to help them in that regard. But through the first 14 games of the season, how would you say overall, how would you say you've assessed his game?
Pleasantly surprised. First off, I would not have expected him to be in all 14 games. I would have thought that he might have needed to be piecemealed into the lineup for here and there. The injuries clearly impact on that, but I think also between Jonathan Toews, the coaching staff, and the communication they've had, they're probably relying on him to tell them if he needs a break. Now, that could still be coming as the schedule gets ramped up even more than it has been, because let's face it, they had an additional day off in between Pittsburgh and Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. They had an additional day off between Los Angeles and San Jose. Now they get into hockey on an every other night basis. So, that with the travel, perhaps maybe we'll see Toews. I don't want to use the term healthy scratch, but load management will come into the picture here, maybe on the back end of this road trip. But he shows no signs whatsoever of any depreciation in his game. I think you can still see the needle moving upwards. And man, oh man, where would they be at the faceoff dot without him? He has been absolutely magnificent there. And you just see some of those opportunities that are starting to come on a more frequent basis in the offensive zone. I guess the one thing that I'm the most surprised at, and again, I don't put a whole lot of stock into this statistic, but the fact that he's the low man on the plus-minus totem pole for the Winnipeg Jets is a little surprising because of the resume that he has. But that also might be part and parcel, listening to Adam Lowry talk about you've got to get the reads. Those are the most important thing when you're coming off a long layoff. I think if we were to talk to Jonathan Toews, he's still getting the reads down pat, and that might have something to do with why that plus-minus stat looks like it does.
Saturday morning, this is the Illegal Curve hockey show presented by our friends at Play Now. Kelly Moore, 680 CJOB, Jets game night host and sports director, is our guest talking about the Jets. They'll be in Anaheim tomorrow to face the Ducks. Kelly, the record is good, 9-5. Can't take that away. The possession numbers are awful.
Atrocious.
Bottom of the league.
Yeah.
So when does that begin to impact the record, the wins and losses? Is it a function that this is going to take time? When the Jets get back to health, you'll see them climbing up. They've never been a dominant possession team. They've never been the Corsi champion Carolina Hurricanes. But it can't be 32nd to have sustained success over 82 games.
And that's the key word there, Drew, is it's not sustainable.
Right.
Go back to Rick Bonus's first season, and he just came back from COVID. Remember, they played that absolutely horrid game in Los Angeles where they basically fed Connor Hellebuck to the Kings. And I remember Rick Bonus just going off on this hockey club because he'd reached a point where the message had to be sent in. Yes, they were winning in spite of themselves. And I would say it has not been quite to that level so far, even though the possession numbers are what they are in terms of scoring opportunities. But they're relying way too heavily on their net minding compared to what we saw a year ago. And that's, forget about the record. Just remember the style of play where the Jets were so difficult to get on the inside of. And that has not been the case here. So, yeah, you can say that maybe it gets better when they're entirely healthy, but when is that going to happen? Is that going to happen in game 30? Is it going to happen in game 40? Because between now and then, there are going to be more injuries where players are going to have to sit out. So your depth should allow you to be able to play better that way. And I think Scott Arniel from time to time has questioned the effort or the style that his team sometimes gets stubborn about playing. And Adam Lowry mentioned that on our post-game show last night, that there were some stubborn things. Now we asked him to elaborate. He said, well, I'm not going there. So I understand that, but then that's where we have to use our own eyeballs.
Yeah.
And so do you see enough of the dump and chase? And when they dump, do you see enough of the chase arriving there on time?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looks a lot like the Jets are just when they're not playing well, and that's happened quite a bit in this first 14-game stretch. They seem to be about a quarter of a step to an eighth of a step. They're almost there, but the other team is getting to that puck first. And I thought San Jose, especially when the game started to open up a little bit, were the team that was far harder on pucks than the Winnipeg Jets. Think of all those scrums where the puck wound up on the board and the referee's hollering at them, move it, move it, move it. Who came out of those board battles with the puck more times in those situations? The San Jose Sharks did by quite a considerable margin. And you can't just allow that to happen as the Winnipeg Jets. You just can't.
Kelly, I know we all cover the Jets, but can we just spend a couple of minutes here talking about Macklin Celebrini? Because I don't know how you keep him off Team Canada. I know that's the debate right now. Do Celebrini and Bedard make the team? Like, he's leading the league in points. Like, how do you keep him off that team?
Yeah, I guess, Travis Konechny has had a little bit of a slow start. So perhaps you look at it from that aspect. You also take a look at Anthony Cirelli, who is known to John Cooper. There's a lot of trust factor there. Has Brandon Hagel been as good early this year as he was a year ago? So there's some opportunities there. And then there are the bubble guys as well. Who do you take, Macklin Celebrini or Mark Scheifele, even if Scheifele's playing on the wing? And so those are choices for Hockey Canada to make. But, boy, I'll tell you what, after getting a chance to watch him last night, that foot speed and on the bigger ice surface in Italy, you'd have to think that that's certainly going to factor into things. And even just from the aspect of having one or both of those guys in a reserve role, perhaps, and then if somebody gets injured or somebody's level of play drops off, then they get a chance to participate. But just being a part of it, if you're looking at the immediacy of it. But I think one of the things Hockey Canada has also done a good job is preparing the next wave of players for the next quadrennial. So I don't think there's any doubt in 2030 we're not going to have these same conversations about Celebrini and Bedard. They're going to be automatics like McDavid and Crosby are. But I would have to think that let's put it this way: there's a whole lot more consideration for those two now than there was, say, at the start of the year. And how about that timeline last night, the way that it was going back and forth between Celebrini and Bedard leading the National Hockey League and scoring?
Crazy. 19 and 20 years old. That's what I said yesterday, Kelly. Like, how good is Celebrini going to be when he's 22, 23, right?
Yeah, their combined age leaves them 1 year older than Sid.
And I still wouldn't count Crosby out for the 2030 team either.
Well, yeah, that's true. But Macklin Celebrini, though, for me, the big difference between he and Connor Bedard, and Bedard's pride, I think, showed up in Calgary. I'm sure that as much as players say they don't pay attention to social media, they're not glued into mainstream media, that they hear about it and they're aware of it. Their families certainly are. About how Celebrini has replaced Connor Bedard as the number one young gun. We even had that discussion on our pregame show last night about how Celebrini has just taken this San Jose team on his shoulders and carried them to now a 500 record after they got off to such a rocky start. So he, at least in my opinion, would be just slightly ahead of Connor Bedard on the consideration scale, just because he doesn't get gobsmacked at the face-off circle. I think he's a better 200-foot player. And I'll tell you what, between his skating and his shot, he's right there with Connor Bedard, and those have always been Bedard's meal tickets.
It's absolutely Kelly Moore, 680 CJOB sports director, Jets game night host. We've done 2 of the late ones, Kelly. 4 more to go, and then we can get back onto some normal time frame and some normal circadian rhythms, if you will. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. We'll tune in tomorrow night for the Jets and the Ducks. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, when I've been driving home after the broadcast, guys, I've almost gone back to my youth, except without the clubbing.
Well, that's, you can bring that back if you want. That's totally up to you.
No. I'm fine with a quiet ride home at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Fair enough. Kelly, have a great Saturday. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks as always, fellas, for having me on. I always enjoy our conversations.
Likewise,
Thanks,
Kelly. Be well. Have a great Saturday. Thanks. There he goes, Kelly Moore, 680 CJOB, our good friend. They'll have the radio broadcast of the Jets and the Ducks tomorrow night. Speaking of radio broadcasts, TSN 1050 Overdrive is going to be in Winnipeg next week for the Grey Cup. That includes the man who is joining us on the program right now, our good friend, Jeff O'Neill, joining us on the show. O-Dog, when was the last time you were in Winnipeg?
Guys, I got to be honest. I think it was 1995. I played the Winnipeg Jets. I'm one of the few guys that got to play in the old barn.
It's been that long. Wow.
What do you remember about the old barn? I think Jeff may have frozen on us, so we're going to see about getting Jeff back on. It looks like he's a little bit... Dave, you're muted, so I don't know what you said there. But it looks like O-Dog is a little frozen.
He's contemplating his Hartford Whaler days. I think that's what he's doing right now.
That's right. He's considering that what he remembers about his last time in Winnipeg 30 years ago.
Maybe he's already on the Winnipeg Wi-Fi and his Wi-Fi froze.
That must be the case. So we'll get Jeff to rejoin us in a moment as he, there you go. So Jeff's going to rejoin us as we're going to bring him on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's a back-to-back guest sort of Saturday, as we're excited to have always catch up with our buddy Jeff O'Neill. Look,
I can't believe it's been that long since O-Dog's been in Winnipeg.
Well, I mean, with all
30 years, Drew.
Well, the Jets left for a while. I don't know that it probably was TSN 1050. I don't know if they were broadcasting in Winnipeg last time there was a Grey Cup here. So, you piece it together. I'm sure that he regrets not having been here sooner. But, I'm sure that that'll be something that he'll make up for lost time as soon as he's able to join us here.
I'm just saying, O-Dog could have visited us many times. He could come to Winnipeg and we would take him out and it would be a grand old time.
Okay.
The good news for him is that the weather's going to be cooperating. It's 10 degrees next weekend.
There you go. That's good. You can bring your light jacket, not your heavy jacket, is what we're saying, Jeff, because the weather's supposed to be good for Grey Cup weekend here in Winnipeg.
I was fully expecting, guys, to be like some type of wintry experience. So you're saying there's no snow on the ground?
None.
Everything's cool.
Yeah, we're good right now.
It's a little bit of snow on the ground, but it's
nah. You could bring your golf clubs. I mean, I don't know that the greens are in great condition, but you could bring your clubs and tee it up if you want a little bit of a winter golf experience.
You know what? I'm looking forward to it. Me and Brian Hayes, we both have not been to the new building, the rink. So I don't know how. Maybe one of you guys could hook this up. We're looking to get a little tour of that arena. I don't know who with the Jets can. There's got to be some kind of trainer hanging back or something. We just want to toot around, and we got nothing to do all of Friday before we do our show, so we want to check out the new rink.
Well, we can put you in touch with the right people.
We'll hook you up.
All right.
I'm not sure that saying I'm associated with Illegal Curve is necessarily going to get you anywhere.
That's not true. See, we know Perry. We know all the security guys, so that's the benefit and the beauty of being friendly to everyone. Jeff is that
what I want to know is who do I not tell I'm associated with this podcast? Like, is there a trouble ahead if we say if I'm associated with this podcast? Is like, who do I not want to tell?
That's a good question.
Pretty much anybody.
Yeah,
No,
Mark Chipman for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Say, mention it and see what happens. You never know what's going to happen. It could be entertaining for everybody.
Sounds good.
And any event, obviously enjoy spending time with you. Talk about the NHL season. Talk about the Jets a little bit as we are, about 15 or so games into the season. The parity throughout the league, Jeff. I want to start with that. is it a good thing? I asked this question last week. We had a guest on last week, and we talked about the parity. We were looking at the Eastern Conference in particular, how there's 2 points between the top team and the bottom team. Is that a good thing for the league, or is that just sort of is it more the league would tell you it's good, but in reality it's not?
Well, usually I like to kind of stand firm on one opinion on some of these topics, but there's two different ways to look at it. I mean, for the fan bases, there was a time where 15 games in, your team's gone. They're out of it. Just like Major League Baseball, like 15 games and your team's 10 back. They're basically out of it after a month. That's no fun for anybody that's following the team. So as far as fan bases, they can look, and regardless of your team, remember when San Jose, their coach was like, I'm dying to get rid of one of my kids for a victory. Now look at San Jose. Like, they had a couple wins. They're right back in it. Even here with the Leafs, it was doom and gloom, and they have a good week, and they're kind of right back in the thick of things. Tampa Bay is another example. I honestly thought Tampa Bay was in big-time trouble. I was like, man, these guys, they look terrible. So for the fan bases, everyone stays in it. But I don't know. We were talking about it on our show this week. It's like, when you look at teams now in the National Hockey League, like, the depth of teams, it's like you got your 5 players, and the league is so watered down, man. You've got guys after that just, there's no more loading up in Detroit's and Colorado's. So as far as quality, like, you hear the insiders and different people inside the game saying, this team is looking for X, and the guy that they're looking for, it's like a third line guy, where it's like the days of the trades where you're getting marquee guys, there's just not enough marquee guys to go around. Let's be honest, it's a watered down league. We always say it, or diluted league. And, so that aspect, there's not really super teams. And no matter what team it is, whether it's the Winnipeg Jets or the Colorado Avalanche or the Toronto Maple Leafs, they've got their good players, but everybody's got a flaw. It might be their goaltender. It might be their D-core. It might be special teams. It might just be talent. And if you've got the talent, then you're just ahead of the game. Whether it's a Macklin Celebrini or a Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid or Connor Hellebuck or Mark Scheifele, you've got to have that talent, because if you don't have it, you got no chance.
Dog, there's obviously been a lot of surprising teams, and I think we all agree there's a lot of parity in the league right now. Who's been the most surprising team for you? Like, and there's a lot of different options there, but where's one team where you're like, I just didn't see that coming? Like, I think I might know where you're going here, but I just thought it'd be interesting to get your answer.
I think the Habs. I mean, I didn't think the Habs would just be kind of dialed in. I thought there was a chance they would take a step back, to be honest with you. But like I said, man, the team you like right now and the team that's a surprise team, in 3 weeks, they might be at the bottom of the barrel. That's what happens with parity. Like, everybody's a 2 week away from a train wreck where it's like, man, this was so good. And I don't know, New Jersey, I didn't have New Jersey playing the way they are. And there's some negative surprises too. I didn't have the New York Rangers being that terrible, Yeah. They got a win last night, but the New York Rangers, they can't score at home. There's been a bunch of different stuff. Seeing the 2 kids, Celebrini and Bedard, go back and forth, and I think they're 1-2 in league scoring now. That's awesome for the league, where it's not the same old guys, Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid. You got 2 of the marquee young guys in the league that are right there neck and neck up at the lead scoring. That's pretty awesome for the league.
Jeff, from your perspective, I know you never played against him. I think your last year in the NHL was his, and then he came in the next year. But what does it mean to you to see a guy like Jonathan Toews back in the NHL after the time off? As you know how hard it is to play in the NHL. So imagine taking off that time and then coming back. He's got the 2 goals, 5 assists in the 14 games.
Yeah, it's just it's been awesome to watch everything that he's done. Just him getting announced and coming out with the jersey on, the 19, playing for his hometown team, and just having him around doing interviews. You're like, that's Jonathan Toews. Like, there was a time not too long ago where that guy was the man. Winning 3 Stanley Cups with Chicago, and I think that's going to be morphed into expectations where fans are going to be like, okay, man, where's the points? Where is some offensive production? Because the vacation stage goes away quickly regardless of who you are. And I don't know what he's got left in the tank as far as offensive ability. Like, what do you guys suspect he's going to be? Is he going to get 10 or 15 goals this year? Is that what we're kind of expecting? Like,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably in that range.
Yeah, like if somebody thinks this guy's going to rip home 35 goals, it's probably not going to happen. So it is awesome. And to come back, I tried to make a comeback after 1 year, and in training camp, I was like, man, that's just too much time. And this guy did it after 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see it sometimes just watching him out there. It's like the movements, it seems like, but I think after time, you give him a couple more months, whether it be a month, I think he's just going to be just fine. But the fans have to temper their expectations. You know, the leadership and the grinding type plays are always going to be there for him. But like I said, if you think he's going to rip home 30 goals, it's probably not going to happen this year.
Jeff O'Neill. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to do a follow up on, in terms of, I mean, again, you know what it's like to be in a locker room. So what can a guy like that do for this locker room? A locker room that, while they have great individual players, has never won anything. They never won anything at the AHL level. They've obviously won, some guys have won a junior, but as pros, they haven't won at the AHL level. They haven't won at the NHL level. So ultimately, you know, we on the outside talk about what kind of impact the guy, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, a Conn Smythe winner, can have on a team like this in the playoffs. What is that? Is that a real thing? Can that really have a huge impact on a team like this?
All I know is I was in a locker room with Ron Francis, who was the great Ron Francis. He won 2 cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and his accomplishments speak for themselves. The list, it's too long to. And he wasn't exactly a vocal guy, but when he stood up and said something meaningful, whether it be after a really impressive stretch or after a stretch that we really struggled, I said to myself, that's probably been said in a locker room with Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr and Tom Barrasso and a championship quality team. So I want to listen to what that guy has to say, because it's not a lot. And Taze is probably the same. He doesn't seem like a rah-rah guy, but with 3 Stanley Cups, he's probably had to stand up and say some certain things that it just hits a little bit different, because there's rah-rah guys that never shut up, and you just get sick and tired of listening to them. And ultimately what they say, you guys get probably sick of listening to each other, because I get sick of listening to the 2 guys I do the show with. But after a while, you're just like, oh man, it's that guy again. But when somebody like that, with that street cred, when they say something and it's in a real critical situation, like you might be in a point of distress in a game where you're down 2-0 in a playoff game, and just he could say something where you're like, that guy knows what the hell he's talking about, so let's follow his lead. So I think it can be very impactful.
Jeff O'Neill, the O-Dog, is our guest here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Staying in a dressing room, Jeff. Here in Winnipeg, the Jets have a good record, 9-5. But their on-ice play has not been nearly as good as it was last year. So they're succeeding in spite of their on-ice performance. When you're in a room where it's sort of got that dichotomy going on, what's it like from the players' perspective? They know they're not playing, really particularly well, but they're winning. So how does those two things sort of balance each other out?
I think it's better than what happened last year, don't you? Because I think it's just some adversity, and they just smoked. It seemed like they smoked everybody last year, 5-2. Like they seemed like they put on a 5-2 clinic last year and stormed their way through the season, and their record was so impressive. And then everybody was like, man, these guys better win the Stanley Cup. Not that shouldn't be the expectation, but I think it's just better to have a bit of a grindy start, and then maybe you get into a flow and get healthy bodies back and get whatever chugging. It's just, I don't know. It was almost like the way they played last year was almost a bit unrealistic with how impressive it was, where the expectations were just through the roof. With those type of players and the way they play, they should be through the roof. But I think if you just have kind of a normal season where you're not crushing everybody every night, it can just set everything in place where, the expectations aren't through the roof. I still think they're going to be right there at the end. But guys, with the Winnipeg Jets, I don't know what you guys feel about it, but it's almost going to be, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it was years getting to the playoffs and thinking, are their top guys going to play like top guys? For the Winnipeg Jets, it's going to be, can Connor Hellebuck ever dominate in the playoffs like he does during the regular season? And it almost seems like there'll be a waiting game most years where he's on top of his game, where that's going to be the question asked. Because there were so many goals going in the playoffs last year where I was watching, I'm like, that's just not the guy that's the trophy winner, man. So it's almost like it's going to be a waiting game for Hellebuck to be the dominant guy in the playoffs. And can he get the job done? Because if you remember all those years, the Buffalo Sabres where Dominic Hasek was unbeatable, it was tough to beat the Buffalo Sabres, and they weren't that good. And the Winnipeg Jets have a lot better roster than those Buffalo teams. So if Hellebuyck can ever put it together in playoffs with those players that they have, you got something pretty dangerous. But it's got to be there. Like your best player. They always say it about McDavid and the forwards or defensemen. Your best player's got to be your best player. He is their best player.
Yeah.
So when he puts it together and the forwards and defense come together, it should be pretty dangerous. But it all starts with Connor Hellebuyck.
Absolutely. And Jeff, I wanted to ask you about the 2025 Hockey Hall of Fame induction, because that's obviously happened. The ceremony's happening this weekend in Toronto, and it's an absolute stacked class. And we should start off by giving props to Winnipeg's Jennifer Botterill, one of the best female players of all time. But obviously, you know, the big names, Zdeno Chara, Alex McGillney, Jumbo Joe, and Duncan Keith. I believe you played against all four of those players. What kind of sticks out to you about this class? Because obviously you've got a couple defensemen, Jumbo Joe, one of the best playmakers of all time, and Alex McGillney, who people have been saying for years that he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's an impressive class. Starting out with Jumbo, it's just like one of the best passers to ever play the game, and an incredible feat to win the MVP on playing on two different teams in the same season. The year he got traded, the guy wins the Hart Trophy. Like, that must be a kick in the junk when you trade a guy and he wins the MVP, the Hart Trophy, on a different team. That's incredible. And he's just known as the guy, other than his on-ice brilliance, a guy that never, took a day for granted in the NHL, always had a smile on his face, and just really one of the good guys in the National Hockey League. And Zdeno Chara took his approach a little bit differently. Like, he was all business all the time, man. Like, if you want to talk about a competitor and a guy that maximized everything that he had, when he started out in the league, it was a joy to be on the ice against him because his feet weren't moving. And it was like, let's take advantage of this guy because he doesn't move that well, and he's big and lanky, and you can make plays down low. And that changed to 4 years later where you're like, I don't want to be on the ice with that guy because he would close space and he played for keeps and he would crush you. I was lucky enough. I played in one All-Star game, and it was my first All-Star game, and it was Z's too. So we kind of became friends, and he didn't really want to take my head off after that, and I'm very appreciative of that because we had a couple little chit-chats at the face-off, and I'm like, okay, he still remembers me from the All-Star game. Everything's cool. And I wanted to keep that relationship kind of going throughout the years, so he would take it easy on me in the corner. Just the ultimate competitor and the ultimate captain, and just a really unique player. If you want to just go to uniqueness, like, I don't think there's any more unique than Zdeno Chara, like 6'8" or 6'9", and nasty, and could play in front of the net in the power play and just do some handsy type things. Like, just a really impressive individual, like on the ice, off the ice. And Duncan Keith, I kind of refer to him much like a Brian Leach or a Paul Coffey, a real dominant, like, short stick defenseman, where they're not that big, rangy guy, a guy that relied on his speed and his hockey sense and his playmaking abilities, and just fierce competitor. He's just an unbelievable player for those Blackhawk teams. And the one thing, a real small detail about Duncan Keith that I really appreciated, much like Alex Ovechkin, when he walked into the rink, because these pictures are so popular these days of getting guys walking into the rink, Duncan Keith's tie like rarely matched his suit. It seemed to be on a little bit sideways. It was just like he wanted to go in there to compete and play hockey games. He didn't care about all the other stuff. He just looked like an old school guy. And just the intensity that he skated with, like, his skating was so exceptional and obviously helped him become a Hall of Famer. And Alex McGillney, just a pure classy goal scoring, playmaking Russian star, like everything you've thought of, like of a Fedorov, just players like that, where it was just so dynamic and so unique that I'm glad he got in. I don't want to get into the story of why he's not showing up or why he's not there. I don't know why. It's kind of weird how he waited so long and now he's getting in and not showing up. I don't know the reason behind that, but just an impressive class. And Jennifer Botterill, everybody sees her on Hockey Night in Canada. I'm not going to claim to know all of her stats, but it's great to see everybody go in, and it's going to be a great weekend. We have the game on Sunday night, so it's going to be awesome.
Well, Jeff, going back to the NHL and specifically Connor McDavid, I mean, I'm curious going back to your knowledge of what it's like to be in a room when a guy who is the best player in the NHL signs a contract that is a fraction of what his value is because he is so determined to win a Stanley Cup. What kind of motivation? And I know the Oilers don't need to play at 100% hockey because they know really, again, they're going to be judged based on the playoffs, not the regular season. But from your perspective, what does that do to a room when the guy who could be making $20 million takes 12.5?
I don't know how much it does to the room, but it really puts management under the gun where it's like, okay, this guy's saving you some space here, and everything about the NHL nowadays is about cap space and what you can do with it. I found it strange because, I don't know, the Oilers, as much as they have everybody says they got the two best players with him and Draisaitl, and whenever you have that, you have a chance to win the ultimate prize. And I do believe there is some truth in that. But if you look around him, what's happened over the years, it seems to be more and more depleted, and they've got some young guys where you just don't know. As I mentioned off the top when we were talking about parity guys, I think there's some teams that have that mentality of, we don't want to take the regular season too seriously because for us, it's all about the playoffs. But there's going to be some teams that are going to get bit in the ass because maybe they don't get in. I'm not saying that's the Edmonton Oilers. But if you hit the snooze button too many times this year during the regular season, you might pay the ultimate price and you might miss. Like, look at how bunched up it is right now. And if it stays that bunched up, which it probably won't, but it could, and whoever hits the snooze button a couple times at the end of the season come March, you might pay the ultimate price. That's not going to happen with the Oilers, but man, their team just doesn't look right. Defensively, they make so many errors, and Evan Bouchard has been a big part of that. And it's honestly a sideshow between the goaltending and the defensive errors. So you wonder what the motivation with McDavid, like, he knew what was there. He knew the personnel. So I found it surprising that he actually, took that kind of pay cut and said, we got a 3-year window, because sometimes you look at their team and it doesn't get brought up a lot, but like, they've been to the finals twice in a row too. It's pretty taxing.
Yeah.
It's not like winning it is that much more taxing than losing it. It's, you know what I mean? Like, they still went to 2 cup finals, and that's a lot of hockey, and it's energy zapping. And sometimes they look at, and they got to get it together. But the message is pretty clear but everybody already knew that about Connor McDavid. I don't think he had to sign for that amount of money to realize how much winning was important to him. All you had to do was watch that Crave documentary or Amazon documentary where you see him in between periods losing his mind. Yeah. That's all you needed to see to understand that Connor McDavid, all he's focused on is winning.
Last one for you, O-Dog. If a team can extricate Steven Stamkos out of Nashville, is there still something in the tank? I mean, 2 goals, 1 assist, 16 games this year. It's hard to watch for a guy that, we remember when he got his 60th goal here against the Jets in Winnipeg back in 11-12. I mean, that's a long time ago. But is there still something left there, or is it just, father time undefeated?
It just, sometimes, guys, there has to be something left there. But I have to admit, I've watched some games, and this is a really negative thing to say. I didn't know if he played. And that's Steven Stamkos we're talking about. And one was my own broadcast where I was like, I don't remember him being out there. And I was like, Steven Stamkos, you don't remember him being out there? That is insane to even say that. Yeah. But I don't know. You'd have to think. I kind of like the idea because it's so common now with guys bringing players back. If Tampa could somehow get them at half the rate and you put them on the power play and you've got Kucherov dishing them passes for one-timers, because they got that Bjorkstrand out of Seattle with the right-handed shot in the power play, and it's obviously not Steven Stamkos. So I don't know. I don't know what his mindset would be. It's crazy how times have changed where if I can remember back being a player, if I had 2 goals and 1 assist right now, there's like serious problems.
Right.
Like I'm in a GM's office. I'm in the coach's office every day. I'm like fearing for my future playing hockey. And it's amazing how many guys, like high-priced guys, that can just go struggle, and it's just like, well, on to the next one. I guess that's just the way of the modern-day NHL. But You'd like to think that he can kind of snap out of it, but there's problems throughout the league, man. Like you heard Ryan O'Reilly talking the other night. I've never heard him talk like that. Dobish, the goaltender in Montreal, I think he was in tears.
Yeah.
I was like,
and he's actually had a great start to the season. He's like 5-1 or something.
Yeah, he said he's like, I was 6-0 coming into this game, but I guess that's not good enough. I was like, Jesus, man, what the hell's going on? Everyone needs to take a chill pill. But I don't know. Stamkos is a real interesting case. It's like you show up there, and by the way, Nashville is kind of a mess. Like this is year 2, and they just do not win enough. And they tried it, and they won the offseason a couple of years ago, and it has not worked out. And what they do with that group of guys, I really don't know. And I don't know what Stamkos' willingness to move on or be a part of something different. But you pretty much have to read the tea leaves and understand there's not going to be a whole lot of winning going on in Nashville. So I'm sure that if he could work something out and get to a destination that he's comfortable with, I would imagine it would be Tampa and not many other places, to be honest with you.
It's been 30 years since you've been to Winnipeg. We're looking forward to welcoming you back this coming week as part of the TSN 1050 Overdrive broadcast as Grey Cup weekend. So we'll look forward
just so Jeff
to that.
knows, though, Drew, there's a Brad Paisley concert on the Friday. So they'll probably be setting up for the concert on the Friday. But I don't know.
You're saying,
at Canada Life. So I'm not certain as to what. Maybe Jeff's a Brad Paisley fan. I'm not certain, but if not,
what about Thursday? Thursday, kind of midday.
Thursday midday. Well, get in touch with us. We'll talk to some folks and we'll see what we can coordinate for you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
And further to that, we're actually hosting Duthie's book signing on Friday. So if you guys want to come and heckle both Duthie and us in person, we'll send you that information as well.
When I travel, I don't want to be around him.
Well, tell him you said that. I'm sure he already knows it, though. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, O-Dog.
Take care, buddy. We'll see you next week.
All right.
There he goes. Jeff O'Neill joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We're behind on a commercial break. We'll take that. We'll come back. We'll talk about that. We'll wrap the show. We'll go into overtime. It's a Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show live on our YouTube channel.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com. At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Alrighty, got rid of the dead weight in Ginsburg. It's Mindell and Minuk to finish it off on this Saturday.
Double
morning.
M.
Yeah, double M. The M&M boys. Peanut M&Ms?
Yeah, I do. I'd choose the peanut versus the chocolate for sure.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not a big M&M guy myself, but Laura likes the peanut one, so she gets those ones. I get the coffee.
I'm going with the Wordle lady then.
Yeah, exactly. She's the far smarter of the people in our family. If you want to throw your hat in with one of the two of us, definitely go with her. Fun little Saturday, if you will. Great to always catch up with ODog. Great to catch up with Kelly Moore. In case you missed either of those, they'll be available on the website. They'll be available on the podcast, and the instant replays, of course, available on YouTube as well. I'll give you a very brief window, Dave, to talk about the Manitoba Moose.
Well, I can't talk about the Moose until you give me my lead-in.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
You could. Your ego is so run amok that you need to be featured on the big screen.
I'll be short. They stink real bad.
Pretty sure you said the same thing last Saturday when I gave you an opportunity.
Possibly. No, I mean, look, they went into this it's an unusual home and home against the Texas Stars. They played their last 2 games of the homestand, or the only 2 games they came home for after being away on the road. They came home, and I think it was 6 straight on the road. They played 2 against Texas last weekend in Winnipeg. Then they start a 5-game road trip with 2 against Texas. So it was a 4-game set, and they lost the first 2 in Winnipeg. They lost last night 4-1. And Texas, it should be clear, they made a trade to kind of mix things up because they were having no success. They hadn't had a win until they played the Manitoba Moose. And the Moose were fine. They weren't doing great, but they were okay, and they were in the games, and they could have had some better fortune in some of them. But, ultimately, the team has now lost 3 straight games, all against, like I said, this Texas Stars team that hadn't won a game. And the Stars were looking like the Harlem Globetrotters yesterday. And the Moose got off to a good start. They opened up the scoring. They actually had a 5-1 shot advantage in the first period. And then the Stars took it back. It took the momentum back. I think they outshot them 8-1 to close things out, tied the game. So it was 1-1. And then the Stars scored a couple in the second period and then added an empty netter. So it is, again, I'm not shying away from my predictions. The Moose this year are a much more talented team than they were last year. There's no question about it. They have way more ability. Now they're not putting it together. The chemistry isn't there. They're not syncing up as a group. So guys who are, having tremendous success, like a Samuel Fagemo, like literally a guy who was the leading scorer for the last 5 years in the AHL, has, I think, 2 or 3 goals. So, I mean, they're just not kind of in, they're not synced right now as a group, as a collective. And again, they've got some young guys that they're bringing up in the Braden Yaggers, the Colby Barlows, but my position would be, again, it's the AHL. Anything can happen. You don't have to worry. I mean, Grand Rapids I don't know if they're still undefeated, but they were undefeated for a while. The Moose still have time to kind of get it to right the ship, but it's definitely troubling that they haven't been able to put together some wins in some of these games.
Well, there you go. You are succinct, and I appreciate that. Of course, before we wrap up this morning, want to make mention, of course, the Illegal Curve merchandise store is open.
Yes.
The link to finding all this is available on our website, illegalcurve.com. Some great new merchandise available, as you can see on the screen as I'm scrolling down. There's multitudes of colors available, so don't be confused by everything that appears to only be different shades of gray. Once you click on the item itself, perhaps I'll click on this fancy looking jersey here, we have it available in blue. We have it available in, what is this, more of a charcoal black, if you will. So there's all sorts of different colors available, different styles available for your new Illegal Curve merchandise. This is the one I'm going to get. I love the look of this hoodie, especially in this sort of...
I'm going to be getting that blue one as well, Drew.
Well, we might have to fight over it, though.
There's more. That's the beauty of bulk buying out, Drew, is that there will be more than one. It's not unique. Although... worth noting, worth mentioning, that if you want an Illegal Curve 3930 made by New Era, those are limited. We only produced a limited number of the 3930 hat. That's my style of hat right there. We changed up the logo a little bit this year, but it is a New Era hat, the ones I'm currently wearing right now. And so if you want that, you have to make sure you get it. Don't wait until the 17th of November, because these ones are limited. But the others, we can make as many as the machine was left on. So there's as many as you need, but these ones are limited. So, but everything else you can get. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. We appreciate when folks are wearing our brand. We wear our brand constantly. So hopefully you will too. And we'll look forward to seeing you. And if we see you in Illegal Curve merch, then we're much more likely to be like, to seek you out, to come say hello. And not that we wouldn't anyways, but
yeah, but then we'll know to be able to see you, as opposed to just creeping people out by running up to them and haranguing them. And
Kenny wants to know how. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say Kenny's water bottle wants to know how many shades of gray, Drew.
50's been taken. We're up to 70 shades of gray for us here at Illegal Curve. I also want to mention this. I mentioned it with O-Dog before. Yeah. Friday night, next Friday, we are hosting James Duthie's book launch at McNally Robinson at Grant Park Shopping Center. So 7 p.m. next Friday night. James Duthie's got a new book. It is called Certified Beauties, more of hockey's greatest untold stories. So James, and they're giving us a live mic, as you can see over here. That's us on the photo as well. So next Friday night, 7 o'clock, if you're looking for something to do, we will be at McNally Robinson. So looking forward to seeing everybody out and having some fun with that next Friday night.
So that would be our second live appearance of the season. We did, of course, we make our once a month appearance at City Place, where we set you up for a Jets game and whoever they're playing, and then of course this will be your next opportunity to come say hi with Illegal Curve and James Duthie. And as I joked on X and on last night's show, we'll be signing books. Yeah, they might not be the book. Books. They might not be the Certified Beauties book. They might be any book that's in McNally. We'll just grab them off the shelf and start signing them if that's what you want. They'll have less value than but maybe people appreciate that, Drew, because they'll be able to buy the book at a discount.
That's right. We've ruined all their business model, but they're going to get our autographs.
Well, we're just doing it for our audience, so we're not really.
So we're looking forward to that. So there's a lot coming up Sunday, tomorrow. The Illegal Curve post-game show after the Jets and the Ducks. So we're looking forward to that as well. A late night Sunday. We don't do very many 11:40 Sunday night post-game shows. I suspect it could be a little bit of a wild one, depending on what happens in that game, of course. But join us on Sunday for that. Big thanks to all of you for joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, and a particularly big thank you to all of our sponsors. Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Steph Telev has been at Rumors since Thursday. She was so popular, they added an extra show on Thursday night. All the shows sold out. 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. So if you want to get tickets, you got to check it out. Not for Steph, but for upcoming shows. Rumors Comedy Club.
Like Andy Noble.
Like Andy Noble on Tuesday. Andy's a great guy. So look forward to that. Seeing Andy Tuesday, Wednesday at Rumors. Our friends at Holt Dental, City Place, will be there in a couple weeks' time. I think the night that the Hurricanes come to town, that Nikolai Ehlers comes to town, we're going to be at City Place.
That's the 21st, I believe.
That's right, for the lunch hour broadcast there. So we're looking forward to that. Wheatland Hockey, the Heads Up Hockey Play of the Game that's given up on every post-game show, Boston Pizza, and of course, Label Daddy as well. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be. Every Saturday morning and after each and every Winnipeg Jets game is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. For the departed Ezra Ginsburg, for Dave Minuk, I'm
from
your
the show,
host,
not from
Bloomingdale.
Earth, of course.
Right, from the show, not the Earth. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow night.